Hello, everybody. Welcome to our senior college night. We are so happy to have you join us this evening. Before we begin, we're going to go ahead and take you to the Solon Schools website, and we're going to walk you through where you could find this evening's presentation. So, Mr. Sims, do you want to help me project that up there, please? You're going to go to the Solon Schools website at solonschools.org. You're going to select the high school in the upper right corner. After selecting Solon High School, you're going to go ahead and go down to the right side to the quick links school counseling tab. Click there. On the left side, you'll navigate down to college. When you click on college, it'll take you to another menu bar. And if you go all the way down to senior college night, you will click there. When you're on senior college night, if you look under senior college night documents, it's the very first document that's underlined. And if you just look now below that, it says senior college night video presentation. This presentation or webinar is being recorded, and you could view it for future reference under that link. Okay? So before I begin, I would love to introduce you to the school counseling college team. First, in charge of letters A through C and R for seniors is Miss Cindy Russell.
All right, welcome.
In charge of last names D through HO, Mr. Rick Nowak.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Not only am I the director of the school counseling team, but I am also a school counselor in charge of students with the last names HP through MC, and I welcome you. Mrs. Kinney has students with the last names MD through SEE with no R's for seniors.
Good evening, everyone.
Mr. Sims, last but not least, has the last names SEF through Z.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for joining us this evening.
And in addition, we have some very important people that I want to introduce to you who were not able to join this evening, but it's really important because they all collaborate with us as part of the college team. First is Mrs. Rooney. She is our secretary in the school counseling office. Next is Mrs. Harrell, who works for College Now Greater Cleveland as our financial aid consultant. And you will be receiving a ton of emails that I will be sending out about different scholarship opportunities and different opportunities for seniors through College Now Greater Cleveland. And you will hear me mention Mrs. Harrell in those emails. In addition, we have Ms. Blashka, Mrs. Chu, and Mrs. Schmidt, who are our essay advising team. They are very helpful. They took care of our summer workshop for essays, and they're available for students to meet with them for essay help. So as soon as the class of 2023 entered the high school, we started planning for when they exit the high school and onto their post-secondary planning. So let me take you back to that point and show you what we've done up to this point. The students have worked on practice testing. They have done the pre-ACT, the PSAT. They have done a ton of college and career search and discovery through Naviance. We have held annual meetings with each student individually, in addition to other opportunities to meet with us through the year. They created a professional resume in 11th grade through their English classes that was led by us, the school counseling team. ACT and SAT testing. As you know, the state test was the ACT test. And then also there's many opportunities on Saturdays to take the SAT. We also worked with them on college exploration and visitation information as far as colleges coming to Solon to visit with our students. So now here we are. It's the beginning of grade 12 and close to graduation, right? Before we know it, May will be here. We're just starting the year. And once again, we're looking toward May. So students at this point should have a list of colleges that match their profile and their interests. They should have taken the ACT or SAT or even retaken, and it's still not too late to do that. They should have explored college websites to determine what each college's testing requirements are. And as we move forward, you will hear more about that and optional schools. You know, hopefully all of you, last year we had our junior jumpstart, and there was a little bit of homework for parents, and we had sent out several emails reminding you, as well as the students definitely received a lot of information about a student parent college questionnaires that have been completed, a transcript or release form that should have been signed, and all of that should have been submitted online. So hopefully everyone did that, because we're at the beginning of 12th grade and that checklist should be checked. And also updated the resume on Naviance. So even though we have the students create a professional resume, it is extremely important that their Naviance resume is complete. It's almost impossible for the school counselors to carry our file cabinets home. It is much easier to be able to go on Naviance and take a look at what our students have done as we receive opportunities. So it's so important to have that updated on Naviance. Next, Mr. Nowak is going to talk to you more about where do we go from here.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you, Ms. Trocchio. So again, where we've come, we're now here. Now we start out when I used to do these sessions though too. I mean, geez, oh Pete, blink of an eye, right? And your kids are going to be ready to go off from college. I mean, I'm dealing with my kids right now. I'm trying to live in the moment because I know this time is going to be coming here soon. And I know it's stressful, period. We have many seniors and parents, you know, chomping at the bit. They did a lot of homework. Like Ms. Trocchio said last year, they worked on stuff over the summer. Maybe they started their essays and they're completed with that and they want to get things going. But, you know, a lot of times though too, we got to take a deep breath here. We got to slow down and, you know, making sure that we're following the process. So again, I really believe this though too, that if we follow this process, stay on task, you know, every year we say this though too, we really are here to help, and we really think the kids will, you know, get to where they need to be. Okay. So after this meeting tonight, we pretty much, you know, talk with our seniors tomorrow, which is called Senior App Start, about the same process. We dive a little bit more in depth with them, talking about their Naviance account. All of your sons and daughters will come home with a packet tomorrow from our Senior App Start, okay, which explains a little bit more in depth Naviance questions, a little bit more stuff about the college application process if we don't talk about it tonight. So please, I highly stress to our senior parents tonight, if the kids are here, which is great, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth tomorrow, but please review this packet with them when they bring it home tomorrow. If your son or daughter, and there's been emails about this from Mr. Sins, if your son or daughter does not have an English class, because we're meeting with them through the English classes tomorrow, and you say, why don't they have an English class? Maybe they took it in the summer through College Credit Plus. Okay, so we took out an English class this year. Please make sure that they, you know, check in with Mrs. Rooney, find out the sessions that were available tomorrow. We're going to be meeting with our kids, okay, and see if they could come to one of those sessions. If not, just send in an email and we'll make sure that we get this information to them, okay? After Senior App Start tomorrow, okay, we are also going to meet individually with all our seniors for individual appointments to actually dive in more in depth, okay, for their future goals. Maybe it's not college. Maybe it's going to be a career. Maybe it's going to be the military. Maybe they might do a gap year, okay? In this packet, it's going to be so valuable because we have in here, talks about trade unions, talks about gap year information, okay? It talks about careers. Ohio means jobs, how to find the best job out there. So again, we know that 95%, based on our data, of our seniors go to four-year college, but it's not for everyone. And we want to make sure that we hit all of our students. Okay, so we go a little bit more in depth with the individual appointments. The counselors schedule those. Okay, please do not have your son or daughter sign up for a senior appointment. We schedule those and we call them down and we have a nice individual appointment. We go through a checklist with them, make sure they have all their stuff that they need for the college application process. Okay, in the meantime though too, and we talked about this at Junior Jumpstart, some of our students have talked to their teachers about requesting a rec letter, okay? And what we've seen though too is that many of these colleges, because their timeline has moved up, because some of them are asking or have a November 1 deadline, the whole senior college application process has started more quickly. And what we have seen, some of our teachers like to, believe it or not, write their recommendation letters over the summer on students where they have some more time. So after Junior Jumpstart, we had encouraged students before they left for the summer, if they see that their college needs a recommendation letter from a teacher, to ask that teacher. Once the teacher agrees, there's a packet of information that they have to give them. They have to give them the students have to give the teacher a copy of their transcript, a resume, and the request for teacher rec form. Again, we have this all in this packet tomorrow that we go over with the kids on how to request a rec letter, how to upload it in Naviance. So again, if the teacher agrees to write that rec letter, the student then has to request their name in Naviance. And many kids have asked us though, how do I get in this? Naviance just did a rollover session. We are just starting this process now. And I gotta be honest with you folks though too. We're not even sending out college applications until September 9th. We've had over 394 classes that our students have taken through College Credit Plus over the summer. It takes a lot of time to transcript that information. We want to make sure their transcripts are accurate, it reflects what they've done, and the GPAs are accurate as well. Okay, so please just give us some time. It is a process, and we want to make sure that you follow that process. Okay, we want them to register and complete ACT testing. Okay, if your son or daughter, I just had a senior parent ask about this the other day through an email. You know, these tests, these schools are going test optional. Many of them are in a 3-year cycle where they are test optional, meaning that they are not asking for a ACT or SAT test as they have in years past, where it's been mandatory. Okay, so again, what does that mean though too? If you feel that your son or daughter maybe is not a good test taker, maybe they didn't meet the requirements of maybe what that college was looking for, and they didn't fall in that range, this is the year not to send that ACT or SAT test score out to the college. Okay, again, test optional means just that. Okay, you do not have to send that out. What had happened was with COVID is that it did not give access to many students during the COVID years because many test sites were closed, ACT testing was not available, and it limited the amount of students that could take the test. So what we're hearing, this is the last year on this 3-year cycle where some colleges are going test optional. What we're hearing again is they are reevaluating this after this year. But again, please find out though too on that college's website if they're a test optional college or if they're requiring it. Okay, and then meet virtually or in person. We're going to be meeting in person with our essay advisors to polish up those essays. As Ms. Trocchio said, many of you students have done the college essay workshop over the summer, so you're completed with your common application essay. However, and this is a big part of the application process, I believe. Think about this. If you're taking tests out of the equation, essays could be very important. And not only is the Common App essay important, many of these colleges are asking for supplemental essays. Why Michigan? Why do you want to come to Virginia? Okay, they're being creative in their essay prompts. Not only should the students be meeting with the essay advisors for the main common application essay that they have to provide for the Common App, they should, I believe, and I think all the counselors are in agreement with this, that they should meet with their supplemental, for their supplemental essays as well. And then once they get all this done, they need to apply. Okay. 3 basic steps, okay, in the college application process for applying to a college. You're going to apply online using the college website or the Universal Online College Application. And you're going to hear about this ad nauseum about the common application. I'm going to give you just one quick example. Kent State still has their own online application where you can go to their site, fill out the application, submit it to them. Okay. But if you want to use the common application where you could do one application, all right, where they kind of mainstream all the questions, and then you're able to send it out to different schools, okay, you'll be using the common app. Now, people say again, though, too, how do they individualize it a little bit for the colleges? That's where the supplemental essays come into play, okay? The students, and we'll go over this with them tomorrow, they're going to choose some schools that they're going to be applying to. And then once you choose that school in your common application, that school is going to have additional requirements, maybe a fee, okay? Maybe extra essays, all right? Those are the things that you're going to follow then. And that's how it individualizes their own piece for the common application from the colleges, okay? The students are going to see if they're going to need to send test scores. Again, we don't send those out. They have to request them through ACT and SAT. And again, probably over these years, because the students have heard colleges are test optional, when they were filling out their applications to take the ACT and SAT, I guarantee you got three colleges where you could send it out for free, or 4 of them. Many students probably didn't fill that out because they didn't know what their test scores were like. And also too, you know, if the schools are going to be test optional, maybe they didn't want that score going there. So you wanted to see what happened, and then you send it out later. So if you received a high score that your son or daughter wants to send out to that college, they have to go back to ACT.org or collegeboard, .org, and get those scores sent from the testing agencies directly to the colleges. All right. And then they have to request their transcripts and recommendation letters, and they're going to do all that through Naviance. Okay. But there's more to consider. Okay. Does the application need a supplemental essay? Okay. How many letters of recommendation are required for the application? And please, what I need for you guys, for folks to do, and students, follow the instructions. Okay. If it does not ask for a teacher rec letter, don't send it. Okay. If it's asking for 2 letters, maybe one from a ELA or English teacher, one from a math teacher, you have to specifically get one from the English or math department in order for you to do that. Okay. Also too, are you going to be doing the common application? There's a coalition application. There's the Common Black application. And are there supplemental essays? Okay. And just real quick though too, I know that there was something on the PowerPoint that said about meeting with the essay advisors virtually. All the essay advisors are meeting in person, okay, in our media center, or our wellness center now, which is what it's called. And seniors, make sure you check out that wellness center. It's pretty neat. Okay. So I think right now that is my part that is completed, and I would like to introduce my colleague, Ms. Kinney.
Good evening again. Right. So this slide here summarizes and brings together information that you just heard from Mr. Nowak in a nice timeline format. These are primarily at the top from September through November, the things that seniors are going to be working on in their first semester. So again, we will be meeting for an individual appointment, and counselors will make those appointments. Writing your essays and consulting with the essay advisor. Requesting letters of recommendation from your teachers, and then requesting them in Naviance. Right? We will review that process for requesting letters in Naviance. We're asking students to kind of hold off on things until we hit on that tomorrow in Senior App Start, and then you get the written instructions. It is very nicely laid out with arrows that point to exactly what you need to do in Naviance and screenshots. So it's an easy process once you make sure you know it. Completing your testing if you need it. I did have a parent and student who were concerned this year about whether or not to send scores, and I suggested you talk to your counselor if you're not sure about sending scores. There might even be a time when your ACT or SAT score is right in the range for some colleges and you'll want to send it, but maybe it's below the average range for some of the more competitive colleges and you'll decide not to send it if they're test optional. You have that flexibility. It's not an all or nothing kind of thing. Attending the college representative visits to Solon High School. We already have a lot of colleges signed up to come and have a representative meet with our Solon students during the day. I'm just going to give you a snippet. For example, just next week, they start on Wednesday. Oberlin, BGSU, Bowling Green, University of Rochester, Cleveland Institute of Art, Ursuline, University of Southern California, and Cleveland State are all sending reps to Solon. An email went out to the seniors and juniors on August 19th that tells students exactly how to sign up to meet with these reps. So the whole process is laid out there, and I want to take this opportunity to stress how important it is senior year for students to check their email and for students to make sure that Naviance, they actually have an email address in there that they check and use, and don't just stick an email in there just to kind of satisfy the requirement. So please, seniors, if you're listening, parents, I know you were there, your students, it's critical that they check Naviance during this senior year. We don't want them to miss any opportunities. Right. We talked about the application process. And parents, you will be completing the FAFSA, the federal application for the free application for federal student aid as soon as possible after October 1st. Mrs. Trocchio mentioned Valerie Harrell, our representative from College Now Greater Cleveland, who works with our families with financial aid. You will be able to start signing up for online appointments with her on the counseling webpage starting tomorrow. So those are 1-hour appointments that you can sign up for. She's here most Wednesdays in the fall, and you can sign up for those visits with her. Right. And then January through April, most of our seniors have already completed their applications by Thanksgiving, believe it or not. So really that second semester, you can see here February, March, seniors are completing local scholarship applications. And then later on, they're reviewing their offers, visiting schools again if they need to, making their final decisions about college choice by May 1st, and committing to colleges and making their housing deposits. So again, a nice summary timeline of what you need to be doing the senior year. And then a little bit about what's most important in college admissions. These typically and traditionally have been the top 3 factors: grades, test scores, and the strength of curriculum. For many students in many schools, test scores have gone by the wayside. So that leaves the grades and the strength of curriculum. And I do want to stop and stress here for a moment. I know sometimes my students have been concerned that, well, when colleges say it's test optional, do they really mean that? Is it going to are you going to be penalized if you don't send your test scores? And we have had so many college reps from even those very competitive colleges assure us that it does not. When they say test optional, they really mean test optional. And many of them had, I think last year, a lot of them had 30 to 38% is the range that I got of their admitted students who did not submit test scores. So if you've got the scores, send them. If you're not so sure, ask some questions and then you can make your decision. But it will not hurt you if you decide not to send them. And in that strength of curriculum, oftentimes the colleges are looking for preparation for the program to which students are applying. The next 3 factors that can help make colleges make their final decision: the essay, letters of recommendation, extracurricular activities, leadership, and community outreach. So if students have their essays that kind of help them to tell their story to their colleges, and then their extracurricular activities and those things, make universities aware of the kinds of things the students will be bringing to their college campus. And I know we also have some seniors who are nervous about all the interruptions and missed opportunities because of COVID. Universities are well aware of those as well. These kids have had some interruptions, and a lot of them have done phenomenally in spite of that. But encourage your students, it's going to be okay. Colleges know what we've all been through, and they are taking that into consideration. And I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Sims.
Thank you, Mrs. Kinney. The next couple slides that we're going to go through really cover information for the students that may be with us tonight. Parents, if your son or daughter is not with you in the room at this time, understand that we are going to coach them up on these things tomorrow. So we want to make sure that we share them with everyone today. The first point for students to be aware of is that we really want them to be the people taking charge. This is their process. They are going to be the ones who are attending the college for 4 years, the university for 4 years, and really making the most of it. So there's a strong sense of independence that can come with this process for them. With that, we have a second point where we're really addressing the importance of them staying organized. Some students may keep track of this through a spreadsheet of the deadlines, the different admissions requirements. Naviance does a good job of kind of fleshing out when those deadlines are, but it's nice to have little benchmarks along the way, little mileposts along the way to make sure that those tasks are being completed leading up to the application deadlines that we're going to provide to the students tomorrow. Students, we also want you to be very well aware of your team and communicate with us. And I'm saying us because it's not just the counselor, it's your parents, it's the recommending teachers who are going to be sending out those letters for you. We're all part of your college application process. So communication is just that much more important at this point in time. Sometimes we kind of burrow in and just kind of focus on what's right in front of us. And it's nice to know that you have a team working with you in this as well. That also goes with your essay advisors, as been mentioned before, and pulling them into the fold when it's time to get that essay done or have a little bit of a critique and feedback time for yourself. The fourth item is really focusing on the fit, and you're going to hear that literally throughout the night. We're not looking for the school that has the nice name or the nice football team. It really is about finding the right fit for you. Again, this is where you're going to be for the next 4 years of your education. And so we want to make sure that you're going to a place that is going to meet all of your items that you're really looking for on your non-negotiables, so to say. That they are extremely important when you're trying to find that place that's just perfect for you. And then the last item is, again, just to stay calm. As we work through this process, and again, it's going to come out tomorrow in a very systemic approach, we want you to make sure that you are staying focused and that you are giving everything its due time. So if we wait until the last minute, that's when panic can start to set in. We want to make sure that we pace ourselves so that that does not happen. The next page is really going over those pointers for parents. And this is maybe a little bit more easier to say than to do sometimes. But again, we have to give them the control. We have to give them that power. So just some general tips. We need to let them take the lead. I know it can be difficult to do, but in reality, it is going to produce that level of independence that they're going to have when they're living on that college campus. So just making sure that they're in the driver's seat. Again, it's nice to check in. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but making sure that they are the ones who are really taking the lead in that process. The second item about reassuring them, that's just something that just builds that confidence that all students have to have. When we're talking about, this daunting task, as it may feel at times, we want to reassure them, like along the way, hey, this is going to be okay. We're going to get these applications in. We may be admitted to some schools. We may be denied at some schools. That's all reality in this process. But regardless of that, you're going to be proud of them along the way for taking those steps. The third item for parents is really to use our resources. The college websites become extremely important. As was mentioned earlier, some schools are test optional, some schools are not test optional. So you really have to do your due diligence, go to those college websites, research what is required so that you know what it is that you have to submit. The school counseling website, as we're going to take a look at in a hot second, actually has a ton of information for you all. Naviance as well. That senior packet that Mr. Nowak referenced, every student is going to receive it as a hard copy tomorrow. And then we are going to have information sessions and opportunities to sit down with the students and have their senior appointments to really dig into what their plan is. So again, that's all part of what we're doing, parents. I just want you all to be aware of what those resources are. And again, it's about finding the fit, not the name of the school, but about the fit for your son or daughter. So again, please keep that at the forefront of your mind. The next slide that we're going to take a look at is really the springboard for us. It's the school counseling website. We mentioned it more than a few times. There's a couple items that are just kind of highlighted up here with the first arrow at the top where it's identifying the college essay advising. As Mr. Nowak reiterated, all college essay advising is in person this year. Students have already received emails about how to sign up for those appointments, and they've already been sitting down with Mrs. Blaska, Mrs. Chu, and Ms. Schmidt as well. So again, they have access to those. Please make sure that your son or daughter is taking advantage of those sessions as they're free at this point in time as well. Likewise, there's links on here for Naviance. We are going to be living in a Naviance world for the next couple of months with our seniors in particular. But that is something that you all should have access to as well. I understand this. There's the student access portal, the student portal, and there's also the parent portal. There are two different things. The parent portal does not have the same permissions as the student portal. Again, this is where they are the drivers in that car. We want to make sure that they're taking those steps to get things done as we've laid out that process for them. Again, they'll be receiving that process tomorrow at Senior App Start. The item that's linked at the bottom of this page is for College Now, and it's really College Now and other financial aid resources. After school tomorrow, the links to meet with Valerie Harrell, our College Now or Greater Cleveland financial aid advisor, are going to go live. So you'll be able to sign up for a meeting with her where she can kind of dig down in your family situation with whatever you choose to discuss with her. It could be identifying scholarships that may fit your son or daughter. It could be helping you fill out the FAFSA or the CSS profile if a school requires that additional financial aid document. She's a great resource and she can help with all of that. So we strongly encourage senior parents to take advantage of those opportunities. Again, free resources at your disposal. The link for College Now will go live tomorrow after school. I'm going to pass it over to Mrs. Russell, who's going to lead us into a conversation about the Ncaa.
Good evening. I'm going to talk about the Ncaa. This might not pertain to many of you, but to those of you that have a student athlete that are really aspiring and looking forward to playing their game at the next level, this is some important information. If your student wants to play NCAA sports at a Division I or II school, they need to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center, and that's at eligibilitycenter.org. If your student plans to compete at a Division III school or currently is not sure what division they want to compete at, create a free profile page account. This free profile page account is really important to do because, I mean, as a mother, I have had student athletes. They weren't sure if they were going to be able to play at Division I or II. You know, they definitely wanted to play. This profile account is an opportunity for coaches who are looking and watching other student athletes to see a list of kids who are interested in playing at the next level. So for example, one of my kids, my daughter, was really a good basketball player. She was a good soccer player. She wanted to play soccer at the next level. So she registered herself in the profile as a soccer player. And this way, the coaches were well aware that she was somebody who was a candidate for soccer and not basketball. To play sports at a D1 or D2 school, your student must complete a total of 16 NCAA approved courses. As counselors, we know what courses those are at our school. So it's really important if your student is somebody that wants to pursue the athletic opportunity at the next level, that they let us know. To be eligible to compete at Division I, students must earn a minimum core course GPA of 2.3 with a corresponding test score on a sliding scale and meet the core course progression and distribution requirement. In other words, what that means is the student needs to complete those 16 courses. They need to get a GPA of 2.3 or more. And then there's an equation that takes into consideration their ACT or SAT score in comparison to their GPA. So the higher the GPA, the lower the score can be on an ACT or SAT, and you know, the reverse is possible. Students hoping to compete at Division II must earn the minimum core GPA of 2.2, and the same applies with the sliding scale. More information is available on the Ncaa eligibility website regarding the COVID-19 and impact that that has for kids in terms of test scores. In other words, if your student has applied to college and isn't submitting their test scores to the college, then this would be something that they need to look into, or you need to look into on their behalf, as to what does this non-test score policy do with as it relates to athletics. If you're wondering what the core courses are for our school, I mean, they're in the core, which is math, English, social studies, science. This also can be found at the ncaa.org website under student athletes. Student athletes that are being recruited to attend a D1 or D2 school will need to obtain a certificate account. So instead, they might go in as a profile account. So let's just say you have a senior who goes in as a profile account. They want to play. They are, you know, thinking, well, I can play Division III, and then somebody comes along, a Division II school, and it's offering the opportunity to play at that level. They would have to move that profile account over to the certification account, and then the process would continue from there. Students should only create one account. So in other words, if you create the profile account and you don't want to create another account if somebody from a Division II or I school shows interest. You want to transition that account from profile over to certification. For those of you that are interested in this, or your students interested in this, I'm the counselor that is the coordinator and the liaison between the NCAA and Solon High School. So I welcome any questions or inquiries for every student, regardless of where they are in the alphabet. Next slide, Mr. Sims. We're going to do some frequently asked questions. Hopefully the frequently asked questions will answer, you know, those that you have, most of them. We've been doing this for a long time. We tend to get to know what the questions are. If I apply online, am I done? This question has been asked to me this year, personally, probably 5 times, 6 times. The students they've applied online, they've completed their Common App application, or they've applied right to the university, and they're just like, what do I need to do next? Am I done? Can you send my transcript, et cetera, et cetera. We have all been sending the same message to the students. Just wait till Friday, September 2nd, tomorrow, and we will explain the entire process. It is it's methodical. It can be done. Just we need your student to attend tomorrow so they understand what it is to execute that application to get where you want it to go. Students must. So the answer to that question, no, you're not done. You need to go into the Naviance system. That's the system that we use at Solon High School. And that system is how we send the important information from Solon that the colleges and universities want. That's how we transmit that information. So once the student lists the college in Naviance, there's a process which includes clicking on I've submitted my application and then requesting a transcript. It's a two-step process. We highlight it in paper, we reinforce it in person, and we're going to do all that tomorrow. The student needs to request letters of recommendation. I've gotten numerous questions on this. How do I get that letter of recommendation to the college? Again, that's through Naviance. If they've lined up a teacher at Solon High School who's agreed to write the letter, that teacher knows how to upload the letter into the system. And then the Naviance system, expedites that information off to the schools. We will go over how the student can connect the teacher and the Naviance system so that all goes off. That system hasn't been, it's not up and running. It'll be up and running after tomorrow. So there's some frustration with the kids, but it'll all be straight out tomorrow. ACT or SAT scores, they need to be requested from the testing company. We do not send ACT or SAT scores from our school. That we don't always have all of them, and more importantly, the colleges want them directly from the testing companies. And
so what happens if I apply online and then receive an email stating that the admissions office did not yet receive my transcript and other materials from the school counseling office? You will receive these emails. They are automated. As soon as the student applies, those messages go out. That doesn't mean that they haven't received the information. It's so important to understand how a college works. So when those papers are submitted through Naviance, as Mrs. Russell explained, they are received at a college by someone who will enter it in the system, so data entry, and then it's pulled by the admission office for review. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not at the college. They might not have it documented yet. So I think the best thing to do is to check your Naviance, take a look and see what is the status from Solon High School. Did it indeed go out, and what was that date? Sometimes it takes 4 to 6 weeks for the colleges to pull it out of the cloud and actually go through the process of documenting that it was received. It could be 2 weeks, it could be 4 weeks. Sometimes with other schools, the process isn't as long, but those are automated messages. So please don't panic. Check your college websites, look at your portal, take a look at your Naviance. Don't worry. When we receive those requests and when your transcript's ready to go, we do follow through. Mr. Noah.
Okay, this question comes up a lot as well over the years. Should I wait until I retake the ACT and SAT to submit my applications to colleges? Okay, so what's happening here real quick, just to let all of you in on this. There are 2 right now ACT test dates, September 10th where they could take one this senior year, October 22nd. Now, the October 22nd one is kind of pushing it towards a November 1 deadline. But we've had some kids take that one, okay? But you might not receive it, obviously, because it's so close. You have to check the site to make sure, the college site, to make sure what they're asking for. Do they want all their stuff in by November 1? Okay, so the answer, I guess, to this question is sending your stuff in as soon as possible, have your test scores sent later, okay? But you have to be mindful again, though, of those tests, of those college admission deadlines, okay? Some of them want to be considered for honors scholars programs, to be considered for scholarship consideration, okay? They might want everything in on a certain day, okay? If you're gonna say that you are going the testing route and you're not going test optional. For SAT, there's the August 27th one that we just had, and there's an October 1st test date where the students would have to register by tomorrow not to pay a late fee, okay? So if your son or daughter is thinking about another test, okay, again, we don't want them to wait on the application process. Get those applications out. The test scores, again, you could request them later from the test agency, okay, and have those scores test out, those test scores sent out. But again, just be mindful, and I just always bring this up because it's a very popular college, okay? I'm just going to be honest with you. There's a November 1 deadline for Ohio State where they want all their information into their office for honors and scholars and scholarship consideration by November 1. You could still apply later, okay? But that is a big deadline for them, okay? So you just have to make sure you're aware of these deadlines for the colleges. It's very important this year to check those deadlines, okay? Mrs. Kinney.
Question: what is the advantage of completing college applications early? Right. And this answer is more than a notion. First of all, I don't know about the rest of the counselors. I think I have more students this year who have already completed some college applications than I ever had before. This is a class that is pretty on top of things. But early doesn't mean that colleges are looking at your applications right now. So there are a few advantages, but I want to talk about it a little bit more fully. First of all, peace of mind. I'm sure those students who have completed their college applications are breathing a sigh of relief. So we want your sons and daughters to work on this application process so that they can get it done and have that relief. There's the advantage for those colleges that do have rolling admissions. So as they receive applications, they review them and inform and notify students, and then they keep that process going. Some colleges will notify everybody on one particular date, but for those rolling admissions colleges, the sooner you apply, the sooner you will hear. Mr. Nowak mentioned scholarship and financial aid award opportunities earlier in the application season. So some colleges will have a very specific date. They'll say, if you want to be considered for our scholarships, you'll need to apply by this certain deadline. So you'll want to make sure that you're aware of that. And then this third bullet point often comes as a bit of a shock to some of our seniors, but we are telling you now, it's not time to panic. It is September 1st. You have quite a while to complete your applications. However, your applications to your colleges need to be submitted 2 weeks prior to the deadline that the college sets, so that you can indicate it in Naviance, and so that we have time to make sure that everything is done. Right. Part of our process in Naviance involves making sure that we send transcripts and all the documents through Naviance, and that the letters of recommendation from teachers, if they're applicable, are also sent. And I want to make a word about that as well. Some of our students get a little panicky if they have a November 15th deadline and they've submitted their applications by November 1st because they have them in 2 weeks before. That is not the teacher deadline for the letter of recommendation. The teacher has all the way until the November 5th deadline to make sure that they have everything in order and have submitted them through Naviance. So I always tell students, if you're getting panicky, don't annoy your teacher, come talk to me and we can have a conversation about that, because I just want to make sure you submit your applications 2 weeks before the deadline. That gives counselors time to make sure everything's in order, including the teacher letter of recommendation. But the teacher has all the way up until the actual college deadline. And as we've said before, the vast majority of our students are done with applications before Thanksgiving. And then we'll all be breathing that sigh of relief and waiting for the news to come from colleges. Right. Mr. Sims.
Thank you, Mrs. Kinney. So we move on to the next question here, and the follow-up. Do grades really count senior year? And don't high school transcripts just show grades 9 through 11? So the easy answer is yes. Your grades senior year do matter. The first point says that transcripts in the fall only reflect the final grades from grades 9 through 11, and that is accurate. That's referred to as the initial transcript. So when students apply to college this fall, it will be that transcript, the initial transcript, that ends up going out. The second bullet, though, really addresses what's at the heart of this, and that's that grades do matter this year. And colleges are increasingly relying more on academic performance and the course rigor. So again, colleges are really evaluating what courses you have taken, including senior year, and how you performed in those courses. Okay, again, that's all in the context of what was actually offered at the institution, at Solon High School. So again, it's just something that colleges are being very mindful of. That third bullet is something to be aware of as well. And that just notes that colleges expect to see a 7th semester transcript. And I'm gonna go on to the final transcript portion in a little bit. That 7th semester transcript is often referred to as a mid-year transcript. And our mid-year transcripts are going to display the letter grades from quarter 1 and quarter 2 from senior year. Okay, so if your son or daughter is applying to a school and they may be on the bubble, they may be applying to a very selective institution, expect that they are going to ask for a 7th semester transcript or a mid-year transcript. Again, that mid-year transcript is going to be displaying the letter grades for quarter 1 and quarter 2. There have been times where colleges have said, based off the performance that we're seeing, we're not going to extend that offer. And then that last item that's part of point 3 about the final transcript, colleges are going to receive that final transcript. One college for your son or daughter where they choose to attend is going to receive that final transcript, and it's going to have all the grades that were earned during senior year. If your son or daughter failed a course or performed poorly according to that college or university standards, they could be rescinded their offer of admission. That happens every year, and I want to make sure that everyone is aware of the possibility of that happening. So academic effort during senior year, it is extremely important, okay? The last item on there, again, just to be mindful that colleges have rescinded. And again, they want to see students who are really running through the finish line and not just to the finish line. Okay, so again, just some points to keep in mind. I'm going to pass it off to Mrs. Russell for the next question.
Must my letter of recommendation be from teachers? Well, no, you can't. A student can submit letters of recommendation or request letters of recommendation from coaches, club advisors, employers, and youth leaders. The thing that the student needs to understand, which avoids a lot of problems, the letters of recommendation from the teachers are sent through Naviance. So the rule of thumb is if the person who's sending off the letter has an email address that ends in solonboe.org, then that letter of recommendation will be sent off through Naviance. If it's a coach, club advisor, employer, somebody that does not have that email, then that email, the student needs to follow the external letter of recommendation process. If you're using Common Application, there's a place on the Common Application to identify recommenders. In the Common Application, the only people that should be listed as recommenders are people that do not have that Solon BOE email address. And already I have students, I get notification from Common App that I have students that have listed me as a recommender through Common Application. The problem becomes that kind of messes, not kind of, it messes up the Naviance process in terms of expediting my letter of recommendation. Same would apply if they put a teacher in there. Naviance and Common Application are two separate things, and they merge. We merge them, we connect them at some point so that the Common Application can be sent off with the information from Naviance. When a student doesn't follow the instructions regarding whose letter of recommendation comes from where, then it becomes problematic and nothing happens. We communicate to students, and we'll do this tomorrow, that if you put somebody down that you want as a recommender, you put them into the Common Application, then you need to contact them. They will get a message from Common App, but you would need to connect with them, provide them a letter envelope with a stamp so that you're assured that the letter gets off. Be sure to follow the instructions of the application. Here are all the points. We'll go over all of this. It is a little confusing, but once the student grasps that Common App is one thing, Naviance is another, then it all makes sense. And
Okay, how does technology play a role in the admission process? College admission representatives may communicate with you using various technology platforms. Your responses may be tracked to determine your level of interest. If you receive an email from a college that you are interested in attending, it is important that you open the email and click on all the links or answer any surveys or questions that they are sending you. Your response to that, opening, reading, clicking, is tracked for some schools. They use it to determine your level of interest. Always be sure to use a professional email when communicating. Your Solon Schools email works, but just be careful of other emails that you may have set up. Be aware of social media pitfalls and other admission implications. Colleges can use a backdoor to take a look at your social media accounts. You want to be very careful with what you are posting, because we have heard from admission counselors that this could affect their decision. So just little word of warning. Mr. Noah.
Okay, could you recommend any resources which would be helpful at this stage of the application process? Yes, there are many. Okay, obviously, rely on us. I know Ms. Kinney even said, though, too, she talked about it. Come see us, talk to us about it, especially like, if there's a situation where, you're worried about, uploading a teacher letter, or, again, not bothering the teacher. Come see us and we could talk it through and have your son or daughter talk through the process with us. Okay. The second bullet, though, I think is really, really important. You have some virtual college informations. With COVID, you're able to, there's a lot more colleges that are doing those virtual tours, and we get it, though, too. That's a great resource to start out at. But I really believe, though, too, that, and I've heard some great stories from kids just over the summer where they've actually done a tour a in-person tour at that college campus. Okay. Again, remember, seniors and parents, you're allowed 3 college visits this year where it's not counted against you. And I got to be honest with you, I've kind of evolved as a counselor here over the years. And, rather than, making this process stressful, have some fun with your sons and daughters. If they're interested in a college up in Chicago, parlay a weekend, with them and have some fun with your son or daughter. Do a couple college visits up there if they're interested in that area, and then, take some time to explore Chicago and have some fun with it. Okay. I've heard some great stories from parents and kids where they've, the mom and the daughter have done a girls' weekend, or the family's gone on out and visited a college campus, and then they went and they explored the town and had a nice meal together. Don't make this so stressful. Enjoy this time with your sons or daughters before they go, and have some fun with it. Again, I'm hearing so many good stories when kids and families go out together for these visits. The process too, I'm getting a lot of questions about this. How do you go about taking those college visits? Again, mom or dad, you just got to call your son or daughter off on the day that they're visiting. Okay, obviously a day or two before. Mrs. Weiss, you'll set that appointment up through the college. The son or daughter has to register for them to take an official tour, and then you come back with a card from that college that says you were there on that day, and you give it to Mrs. Weiss in the attendance office, and then it's not counted against you. Okay. You also are getting Naviance Blast, and maybe you're getting information from colleges based on demonstrated interest, like Ms. Trocchio said in years past. So example, what happened is we're seeing a lot of colleges that are kind of coming together that are similar in maybe in mission requirements. So let me give you an example. Duke, Vanderbilt, Northwestern, highly competitive schools. They might have an information session at the Hilton or the Holiday Inn on Rockside, okay, where they have representatives from each school come, and parents and students could listen in on their different presentations. Okay, so if they're in the area, it would be great, rather, if you can't get out for that college visit, to attend those regional representative meetings. Okay. Also, those, like Mrs. Kinney talked about, those college rep visits when they come to our school are so important. Okay. I'm going to just give you an example. I keep bringing this up because we just have a lot of students who apply to Ohio State. Tracy Schumann is our rep for Ohio State. She's the liaison for Ohio State that deals with Solon area students and some Cleveland area high schools. Okay, so she comes in as our rep. She spoke last year at our 9th through 11th grade college meeting, and she is a wealth of knowledge. What's the difference between honors and scholars program at Ohio State? What's the difference between this program and that program? Do you have this? Could I major in this and minor in that? She gives out her email, and you could start sending her questions because she's the expert at Ohio State about that. So if your son or daughter comes to those rep visits, these representatives are usually the key to communicate with for that college. Okay. And just like Ms. Kinney said, I looked on there though too. We have Vanderbilt coming, we have Purdue, we have some highly selective schools. If your son or daughter is thinking about that school and it's top of their list and they're coming to Solon High School to visit, please have them sign up. Mr. Sims did a great job with the rep visit program. I want you, and I'm going to tell your sons and daughters tomorrow, and I know my colleagues will do this though too. These reps sign up on that college rep site, and it changes by the millisecond. So if they're not there today, they could be there tomorrow. And over the years, we've had over like sometimes 120 college representatives come into Solon High School. And it would be great for you to get your questions answered by your sons or daughters, where they could come to that meeting and actually get the representative who might be about an individual or a team who makes the decision on your son or daughter for that college. Okay. Our Naviance site has a ton of counseling information on there, college counseling information. Our school counseling website provides many links. I just sent out when that student had asked me about going out to a college rep visit. We have a actual handout that talks about what I should be asking on a college rep visit, the questions I should be asking, what should I be asking the admissions counselors, etc. Okay, so utilize, we have a wonderful, wonderful school counseling website at Solon that you could take advantage of. The senior timeline that Mrs. Kinney talked about is so vital this year. Of all the years to stick to a deadline, this is the time, seniors and parents. And if we just have the parents on here though too, you might need to do some nudging this year. Maybe you can't go to a football game on a certain day until you work on your common application. You know, maybe you can't go out with your friends until you get this done. Maybe since homecoming is coming up, okay, I use this all the time. I want to see X, Y, and Z done on the common application before I allow you to go to that homecoming dance. Okay, those are things that you could do to keep your son or daughter on track. Okay, meeting with the essay advisors, wealth of information they have. Our College Now representative for financial aid and scholarship, Ms. Harrell, is wonderful. And those links will be up, like Mr. Sims said, after tomorrow. Okay, our school monthly PTA newsletters. Okay, there's some important dates on there. And again, just keep your son or daughter on track, especially this year with those deadlines. Okay, thank you. Mr. Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Nowak. Just a couple housekeeping items. Again, remember to the parents that are with us, to the students that are with us, we are in this together. We're going to navigate these waters together as a team. A reminder about Senior App Start tomorrow. That will be with all seniors through English classes. Even if your son or daughter took an English course outside of Solon High School, they are more than welcome to come into the high school to meet with us for those sessions as well. The times and locations have been emailed through Naviance to all students. And again, all materials that we cover today are going to be posted to our website and emailed to our students tomorrow at the end of the school day. On the slide in front of us, we just have a last item to kind of keep in mind and in our hearts, and that's that college is not a prize to be won, but rather a match to be found. Mrs. Trocchio?
So we can't thank you enough for joining us this evening and attending our webinar. We hope you learned some valuable insights. Don't worry, we are going to be working with your children. And remember, once again, you can access this webinar on our website. Thank you. Have a great evening.